Hello and welcome to the second lesson. This time I will be explaining the blending modes that I use when working with Photoshop. This program presents a series of features that help us manage the images with ease and with a striking realism. But what I'm going to explain in this lesson is that in the Layers panel there's a small drop down menu that has some features that let us apply a filter on each layer in a specific way depending on the colors you apply. What am I doing now? Right now, what I'm doing is a kind of sphere to which I'm going to apply some volume to later apply those filters so we can see the results of applying those to the different spheres I'm going to create. What I'm doing is not rocket science because what we want to focus now is learning about the filters and that's it. I'm using the brushes I usually work with, the default Photoshop ones by Kyle Webster. And well, I'm making 4 balls here because though Photoshop has loads of effects, every one of them has different characteristics and qualities that you have to apply depending on your individual needs for your illustrations. So I chose 4 of them for you to get some orientation thanks to my own experience when working with these, because I realized recently that 4 of them are a must if you are to do some illustration work in Photoshop. The rest of them, you can experience them by yourselves because they're not going anywhere, and you'll probably take more out of them in case you want to practice on your own. As I was saying, the 4 effects I'm explaining in this course are the only ones I'll be using on the rest of illustrations that you'll see I'm making. And well, who knows if someday I'll decide to include one of these others occasionally. I'd be glad to admit that I was wrong for adding any more filter to my list of regular used filters. But the ones I use, which I've been telling about a million times through all the courses I've been teaching, are multiply, screen, overlay, and color. Color may be the one that I've been recommending less because I usually work with the colors the program offers, but there are many artists that usually draw in grayscale in order to later color it. So, well, that's definitely something on my bucket list. But the truth is, if you don't have a clear idea or simply you want to experiment with it, well, anyhow, you can work in the way you see fit and feel comfortable with. You don't have to feel obliged to do it one way, knowing that you feel more comfortable doing it the other way, you know? But knowledge is power, so basically, learning about all these options is going to be the best way for you to widen your knowledge when applying it to your drawing skills. Okay, so back to the screen. I'm finishing the sphere I was telling you about. Um, the one that I'm going to use to show you the filters. So it doesn't have an exact explanation. I just wanted to make a metal sphere for you to see the different effects because since it has different arc and light areas, you'll be able to understand the explanation better. So what I'm going to do next is make it a bit rounder because it's a bit irregular and I prefer it to be more even. I grab the selection. I'm going to adjust it because I can't seem to get it right. Okay, I just deleted the rest of the layers with the other gray circles. I'm going to make the final adjustments. And well, now that I've been able to make a better selection of the layer, I hit Ctrl X, I pasted it on the same place, and now we have the sphere with which we're going to work. As you see, here are the filters. I'm going to be creating layers with different names of the filters I'm going to be using in order for me not to get too lost and you neither. And I'm going to be starting with this one here, which is the multiply filter. I'm using a diffused borders brush, and basically now I'm using a dark gray tone. So what's going to happen? This layer is going to make the color we're using go quite darker. Right now I'm using a black tone, though further in the video I'll be working with color tones. But first I want you to see the usage and functionality of these filters. So except for color, I'll use grayscale colors for the examples. This second layer here is the layer for screen, which lightens the object of the layer it is applied to. As you see, it brings a very strong brightness to the layer, and afterwards you can adjust little by little the brush in order to get a brighter effect. So it gets some reflections and the result is more metal-like. Alright, I'm going to copy the other ones here so I don't have to go one by one. So multiply, screen. In this third layer, what are we going to use? We are going to use the overlay effect, which you can appreciate it much in black and white, but basically it saturates and brightens. It's kind of a mix between lighting and saturation, and it's actually the one I've been using the most lately and one of my favorite. But as I was saying, you can't fully notice it here as much as you could if I used color in it. But it's basically saturation and brightness. And last, we're going to see the color effect. So I'm just going to choose a tone and I'm going to paint over the sphere so you can see the result. And that's how you color it. As simply as that. What I was trying to explain is that if you've made a grayscale illustration and you want to color it afterwards because it's easier for you to apply some volume to your drawing, now you have this effect to paint in a layer over your drawing, and you don't necessarily have to use the colors on the palette. Well, in the next lesson, we'll apply some color to these spheres to see these effects from a different point of view. So, see you in the next lesson.